How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 1.
Hello, America. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here, and I am delighted to have you with me today. The phone number is 877-973-7425, should you wish to be on the program. Glad to have you with me. Some of you, I want you to know, are getting an email about updating yourself in our portal for our listeners, and it really is an email from me. It is not spam. I've been sending out these emails to folks, and everybody calls back and says, is this spam? No, it's really me. You do me a huge favor if you text the word Army to 33777 and click that link. By the way, if you do, we're doing something for you. We've got it live now. You can check your voter registration. If you're worried about has the deep state deregistered me, if you text Army to 33777, you put in your basic info so you can get into the portal, you'll see a voter registration portal. We are working with a national voter registration nonprofit that the secretaries of state of the 50 states use. You can put in your information. I won't keep your information. It doesn't come to me. It goes to the National Voter Registration Database, and you can see that you're registered. And if there's time and you're not registered to vote, there's time to get you registered to vote. In some states, you still have time to register to vote. So text Army to 33777. I want to begin. I've shaken things up here at the beginning from what I was telling Philip earlier to outline the show. I got to start with the contretemps of Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, in particular with Donald Trump going to California and New York City, rented out in Madison Square Garden and had a full house at his rally. And the left, of course, is scoffing at the arrogance of Donald Trump, thinking he might win New York when he's not going to. And by the way, he's not going to. Let's just be real clear here. Trump's not going to win New York and California. This is some of Donald Trump last night.
That's something, huh? Isn't that something? We have some very big ones coming. We just rented Madison Square Garden. We're going to make a play. We're going to make a play for New York. Hasn't been done in a long time. It hasn't been done in many decades, but we're going to make, how could New York be run worse than it is, right? With all the problem, everything is corrupt in New York, and we're going to make a play, and let's see. I mean, I think that, the migrants have taken over Madison Avenue. They've taken over Fifth Avenue. They've taken over the parks. The kids can't play Little League. It sounds like a trivial thing. It's a big deal when you have a son that's a Little League player and he can't play. So we're going to go Madison Square Garden. We went to the Coliseum, Nassau Coliseum. We could have filled up the Nassau Coliseum 3 times. It was incredible. We left there a few weeks ago. It was incredible. So we're doing Madison Square. We're going to go to the arena.
So Trump at Madison Square Garden. And, yes, Trump is playing this as, we're going to win New York. We're going to win New York. There's something I've learned along the way. Hatred of Donald Trump and hagiography of Donald Trump break people's brains. If you deify Donald Trump, if you treat him as some sort of saint and hero, the protagonist of your life, it breaks your brain. If you, hate Donald Trump so much, it breaks your brain, and you can't process what's actually happening, which he uses to his advantage. Donald Trump on the stage says these things like, we're going to win New York. He doesn't really believe it. Now, I know if you are hagiography Donald Trump, you believe that Donald Trump believes it. He's a great salesman. Or when he goes to California, he says, we won California, we're going to win California. You believe it. You say, well, it had to have been stolen. Trump says it was won. And if you hate Donald Trump, you look at this and say, the guy's ego. Who does he think he is? He's not going to win. These people hate him. All my friends hate him. Everyone in New York hates him. Look at the polling in New York. What an ego. What a pompous SOB. What a waste of money. There's no way he has a rational reason for being there. And what both sides then miss is the strategy. Because it's very important. What is happening with Donald Trump going to New York and California is very strategic. There's a reason he went to Long Island, and there's a reason he did an event at Madison Square Garden. Where is Madison Square Garden in New York City? You say Midtown, but be more precise. You say a block from the New York Times, but be more precise. Penn Station, where all the commuters for the Long Island Rail come in and out of New York. All the commuters, you go to New York City, go to Madison Square Garden. So there's a big building behind Madison Square Garden. It's where Sean Hannity would broadcast a show from WABC for years, and Sean Hannity would take the Long Island Rail. Come into Madison Square Garden, shoot up a back exit, go straight upstairs to his office, avoid the crowds, had security with him. The Long Island Rail. Donald Trump wants the trifecta. It's the same reason. It's not a coincidence of all the places to go in California. Why do you go down to the Palm Springs area? Why do you go to Coachella? Because all of the swing districts that have given Republicans control of Congress are from those areas. If your brain's so broken, you either think Trump has a chance in New York and California, or you think he's wasting his money, he's an idiot. You're not paying attention to the strategy here. He wants the trifecta. What is the trifecta? Republican control of the House, the Senate, and the White House. Trump thinks he's got this race. Trump thinks he's got it. There's a growing confidence behind the scenes with the Trump campaign. Now, this isn't an overconfidence. This isn't a we can sit back and they understand it is a very close race, but the trend lines are working for them. You know who else thinks Donald Trump probably is trending in the right direction and Kamala Harris is trending towards loss? Just, you'll figure it out. Listen to the conversation. You'll recognize it.
I'm going to replicate the 2020 coalition.
Some of that talk that I know gets people riled up. When you watch the doc now, how do you feel looking at the measure of your own life backed up against 70-plus years of American history?
Only thing I feel is the election's coming November 5th. And I'm scared to death, and I'll get a time to, obviously.
You're not in a reflective mood.
Not in a particular reflective mood right now. I'm very, very concerned and very
What does
scared.
Harris need to do with the month left?
All right, 7 months left. Let's start. We got 26 days.
Yep.
Today is gone. You're going to lose 4th of the hurricane. Just subtract that. We're going to get blank. You're not going to be able to get much out for the next 4 days. So, and everything kind of shuts down to Saturday before the election. So you're really probably under 20 days that you have to really get a message out. They need to be sharp. They need to be aggressive. They need to stop answering questions and start asking questions. They're doing all this and sitting down with 60 Minutes and sitting down with Colbert and sitting down with... No matter what, if I come on your show, you're going to ask me the question.
That's true.
If I have a press conference, I get to ask the question.
You'd like to see her do more press conferences?
I'd like her to put more things in play. Like
where she's out driving it.
Out saying, what is J.D. Vance talking about that Trump saved Obamacare, tried to just destroy it at every point? I would put President Obama out to make that. He's only got a 92% approval with Democrats. He only is the author, the father of 23 million people having insurance. I would have President Clinton talking, going on these local TV stations, talking about how tariffs are going to destroy the economy of Wisconsin or Michigan or anywhere else, because they have never worked.
I can leave James Carville there with R.A. Melber to make this point, because it's a point I made yesterday before he even spoke. Where the hell are the Democrats? Where is Bill Clinton? In the working class towns around Erie, Pennsylvania, and in Wisconsin and in Michigan, they still have fond memories of Bill Clinton. Where is he? Where's Hillary Clinton? Where's Michelle Obama? Where's Barack Obama? Where are they? Why are they not campaigning? Where are they? They're not where they need to be, are they? No, they're not. They're not. They're not on the campaign trail with Kamala Harris. Why? Why are they not on the campaign trail? These are people who tell you with a straight face and passion in their voice that our country ends if Donald Trump gets a second term. They say it with a straight face. They believe it. Our country is over if Donald Trump wins. So where the hell are they? Excuse my language. Where are they? Do they not believe that the country's coming to an end? Do they not believe democracy's at stake? Do they not believe democracy's on the ballot? Do they not believe it? Does Kamala Harris not really believe it? Why has she not asked them to get out there? Why has she not cajoled them to get out there? Why has she not seeded stories in the press? I've asked them and they won't do it. They won't help me save democracy. Or is it she hasn't asked them? Remember, she inherited the Biden team. And she has pushed a lot of them out there. She's brought in some of the Obama people. There's been this weird chain of command dynamic. No one really knows who's in charge. This is from the leaks. Where is she? Where are they? Why aren't they out there? Y'all, this is not a campaign that's firing on all cylinders. The Harris campaign. The Trump campaign is. Donald Trump is doing events in New York and California, and the echo chamber of the press and the Democrats is, what an arrogant SOB. He thinks he can win these states. That's not why he's going. He talks about that on stage. His most diehard supporters, I already see the hate mail. I'm not 10 minutes into the monologue and I'm getting hate mail. He knows smarter than you. He's smarter than you. He knows the polls are wrong. He's going to win New York and California. If I was a betting man, I'd offer to bet you. He's not going to win those states. But the House Republicans can. You see, remember the red wave in 2022 that everyone says, there was no red wave? It's actually, it was Schrodinger's wave. If you didn't look at it, it was there. If you looked at it, it wasn't there. There was a huge red wave in California and New York. Remember, Lee Zeldin almost won the governor's race. And Republicans just were swept in New York congressional districts and even Southern California congressional districts. And where did the Republicans win? Long Island. They went from having a majority of Democrats in Congress on Long Island to no Democrats in Congress from Long Island. And now they've redistricted again to try to shape that up. But a lot of those districts are still toss-up districts. So Donald Trump goes to Long Island and then he goes to Madison Square Garden where the Long Island Railroad comes in. So you can go to the rally with Donald Trump and take the Long Island Railroad back home to Long Island. And there is a real series of studies that have been done over the years that when a candidate comes into an area, that candidate boosts his vote. And the Trump campaign's hoping that those voters go in and they vote for Trump, and then they go down the ballot and they vote for Republicans there, that he has coattails. Donald Trump's playing not just to win. Donald Trump is playing to win the House and the Senate. And the New York Times is reporting today, as we go to commercial break, that Democrats in the United States Senate now believe they will lose their Senate majority. That's right. Chuck Schumer is privately advising the Democrats to prepare to be in the minority. He believes that John Tester is toast in Montana, and he does not believe Ted Cruz, Deb Fischer, or Rick Scott will lose in Nebraska, Texas, and Florida, handing the Republicans at least 51 seats. And Democrats are being advised they may be in for some surprises as well, and they're pointing to Ohio and Bernie Moreno. Donald Trump knows exactly what he's doing. It's the people too broken by Trump who just can't see it. AI might be the most important new computer technology ever. It's storming every industry. Everybody's talking about it. Billions of dollars invested. So buckle up. The problem is AI needs a lot of speed and processing power. So how do you compete without costs spiraling out of control? It's time to upgrade to the next generation of the cloud. Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI. OCI is a single platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs. OCI has 4 to 8 times the bandwidth of other clouds, offers one consistent price instead of variable regional pricing, and of course, nobody does data better than Oracle. So now you can train your AI models at twice the speed and less than half the cost of other clouds. If you want to do more and spend less, like Uber, 8x8, Databricks, Mosaic, take a free test drive of OCI at oracle.com/Erickson, ERICKSON. That's oracle.com/Erickson. Oracle.com/Erickson. Go check them out today. I gotta play you some audio here from, where is it? I thought I had it pulled up. It's from Jim Cantore about the hurricane. Thankfully, it missed Tampa. Y'all, a buddy of mine texted me this morning and said, given Tampa's reputation, I'd dodge it too if I were Milton. Wanted to avoid Florida, man. So Milton decided to go to Sarasota instead. This is Jim Cantore on the Weather Channel. If I can, internet connection here is a little bit clunky. So
what you can count on here is the state of Florida. DeSantis and Guthrie are a well-oiled machine. They've got so much in line here, and Kevin said it earlier on. I want you, as my state, to prepare for 7 landfalls this year. All right, I want you to prepare for that, and we've already had, 5 obviously throughout the Gulf, 2, 3 here in Florida alone. But that, having that kind of forethought and getting, 50,000 utility trucks on standby, having gas reserves and things like that, because now you've got to get people back in here eventually.
Competence. Yesterday I mentioned this. I introduced Governor Kemp from Georgia at an event. He doesn't get the headlines that Ron DeSantis does, and neither of them get the headlines that a lot of other people do just because they're competent. And it's nice to not have to worry about the government. It's nice not to have to think about the government. It's nice just to have competence. And Ron DeSantis in Florida is competent. The head of the Florida Emergency Management Authority is competent. They know how to handle hurricane recovery. They know how to do prep for hurricanes, and they just get it done. It's not showy. It's not flashy. It's a lot of sweat and a lot of work, and they just get it done. And that's what you want in government. And think about the lack of conspiracy theories from states like Georgia and Florida, where the government's just competent, things work, and you don't have to worry about it, as opposed to the federal government. It's unwieldy, complex, and filled with incompetent, arrogant people, and this mass array of conspiracy theories that now come out about it. Competence matters in times of crisis, and Kemp in Georgia, DeSantis in Florida, they've got it. Now, I want you to get an Eden Pure Thunderstorm. If you get 3 of them, you can save $200. You get them for less than $200. You go to EdenPureDeals.com. Eden, like the Garden of Eden. Pure as the drivens know. EdenPureDeals.com. The Eden Pure Thunderstorm uses electrostatic plates, and those plates trap pollen and dust. It then generates ozone that gets into the cracks and crevices to latch onto the odor-causing ions and neutralize them so the odors go away. You can plug it up with a USB cord, or you can plug it up directly into the wall. I've used mine in a car with a USB outlet. I've fired it up with my laptop before. I plugged it into the wall. You can get 3 of them. Your upstairs, your downstairs, your basement, or your attic, your crawl space, your RV. I keep one in my travel bag. You can hold it in your hand. It's like the size of a thick paperback book. You go to EdenPureDeals.com. You put in Eric3, ERICK3, at EdenPureDeals.com, and you can get this 3-pack, and it'll clean up your air and get rid of dirty diaper odors, pet odors, smoke odors, you name it. EdenPureDeals.com, discount code Eric3. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. So not far from me is Julia Roberts. She's a native of Smyrna, Georgia, and she is in deep blue DeKalb County campaigning for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. And it's not nearly as impactful as a former president. There's not nearly as big a crowd as there would be if Barack Obama or Bill Clinton were there. I mean, Jimmy Carter's family is trotting him out for flyovers. They could trot him out for this stuff too. But none of them are there. It's Julia Roberts. Here's the thing. Let me go back to this. This is, and I mentioned this, but it really is worth understanding the science of this. People don't get to see presidents and presidential candidates much. So in 1984, Ronald Reagan came through Macon, Georgia, where I live. The 40th anniversary was the other day. And the Reagan Library put something out about it. It was picked up by the local media, and I'm on a group chat with some friends. I think I'm the youngest person on the group chat. No offense to you guys who are listening from the group chat. But a lot of them were like, oh, I recognize so-and-so, and I recognize this person, and I know that person, and I work for this person. Oh, they were all there. And it generated some feeling of goodwill. And Reagan, of course, won Georgia in 1984, won everywhere except Minnesota. In 1996, I was in the motorcade. I was the lead car behind the limo when Jack Kemp came through Macon, Georgia. I was in college. He was campaigning with Bob Dole. They did not win, but he came through Macon. He generated a crowd, went to the Bear's Den, a local meat and three. It's a fantastic restaurant. I eat there every Wednesday. And it generated a crowd. They didn't trot celebrities through Middle Georgia. They trotted the candidates through. And the data has held up over time. When a presidential candidate visits a place, it generates a level of psychological goodwill. People remember that person more favorably. People who don't have a favorable impression, their impression tends to improve slightly. People who already have a favorable impression tend to vote more and commit themselves to voting. And it ups the vote. It's why Bill Clinton was so insistent Hillary Clinton in 2016 needed to get outside of Ann Arbor and go into blue-collar areas of Wisconsin and Michigan and Pennsylvania. He wanted her to go to Erie, Pennsylvania. Robbie Mook, who's a progressive from Brooklyn, insisted she didn't need to go there. They didn't need people like that to win, and she lost. The blue-collar voters who never saw Hillary Clinton saw Donald Trump because he came. When you show up, it signifies you care. Side note, this isn't a pat me on the back sort of thing. Please don't take it that way. I'm not. I don't mean it that way. It's actually you maybe think less of me when I tell you this. For reasons I'm just not completely sure of. I have a more unique relationship with my listeners than I think a lot of people in radio do. I mean, you all hear callers call all the time that they're praying for my wife, praying for me. Most of the time that they see me in public, they want to chat. How are the kids? How's college for your oldest? I try not to be transactional. I try to be relatable. But at the same time, the amount of people that I try to keep in touch with now regularly, listener Greg, his wife's got cancer right now, and they're dealing with something like this. You got another listener, their dog died the other day, and he was commiserating with me about my dog. It looks like she does have cancer, and just on and on and on and on. And the level of just keeping in touch with friends I've made through this show, and like all of you are, and the care and concern you have for me, and it sometimes gets overwhelming because I'm not a really extroverted person. I can sit here and talk to 5 million people right now, but I'm in a room, my board op gym is here, and it's just me. I got a live stream camera going, and that's it. Y'all aren't actually here with me. It exhausts me to actually be around people, and keeping up with everybody wears me down, and there are so many. Y'all have one radio show host to keep up with. I got a whole lot of listeners to keep up with, and I'm happy to do it. People mean well. I don't want to abuse the trust, but it also, you generate a level of goodwill. I have room and license because of my relationship with my audience. I can say things that my audience disagrees with, and they're not going to run away as they would with some other radio show hosts because they know where I come from. I translate that through to presidential candidates. When a presidential candidate comes to your town, the message is he cares. Whether he does or not doesn't matter. They interpret it as, the people who are the voters who are going to the rallies and the like, they interpret it as he cares. The result is greater turnout. Trump is trying to do something that sometimes works and sometimes does not work. And that is coattails. Ronald Reagan in 1980, when he got elected, there were a group of senators who went to Washington, D.C., and they became known as the accidental senators. Reagan's coattails in 1980 were so strong that 6 or 7 senators went to Washington, and the GOP captured the United States Senate. It made getting his agenda possible. But 6 years later, all of them were gone. A couple of them managed to come back, but they all lost. One held on for 2 terms and lost. But Reagan's coattails were able to get people in office, and Trump is hoping to generate some coattails. And he wants to be able to take credit for races. Like John Tester was going to lose anyway. Greg Gianforte, the popular governor in Montana, he's going to win his race by 30 to 40 points. Trump is going to win by about 10 or so points in Montana, 10 to 15 points based on polling. Notice the dichotomy there. You've got a very popular governor who's going to win by 30 points. Trump is so polarizing that even some Republicans who will vote for Gianforte, they're not going to vote for Trump, but then they may go vote for Sheehy, and it looks like Sheehy's going to win. And now Trump's trying to do the same in Ohio. Don't be surprised if he does another event in Ohio, because it looks like it's helping Bernie Moreno. Every time Trump shows up, Bernie Moreno's polling goes up. Trump would love to have a Senate where he can afford to lose a Susan Collins on a vote and still get it passed, because she'll allow it past the filibuster to get it to a vote. And Trump knows by going to Southern California and by going to Long Island and by going to Madison Square Garden, he may be able to help some House guys. House guys are harder to help with coattails than Senate guys. You know why? They're lower on the ballot. You got statewide races, and then you got congressional races typically in most state ballots. And those congressional races, they're lower down on the ballot, and a lot of people don't stick around. And Trump is trying to get his voters to stick around for the full ballot, and if they see an R, vote R. He wants the House and he wants the Senate. Now the question is, what does it look like if he gets it? Part of the problem here is like his tariff fight. There are a lot of Republicans who are beginning to concede that the tariff laws in the country are so nebulous that Trump may unilaterally be able to do a lot of tariffs without having to get congressional authorization. The tariff laws have so much wiggle room in them for unilateral presidential action that he may be able to get these tariffs without Congress. And Republicans will privately tell you this: whether they want Trump to win or not, all of them, his supporters and those who don't really like him and probably aren't actually going to vote for him even if they publicly say they are, they'll all tell you that if he does win, they all expect 2026 to be a bloodbath for the GOP. The party in the White House tends to lose the midterm. Joe Biden is an exception, first time since George Bush in 2002. And it had a lot to do with Republican voters rejecting MAGA-style Republicans in swing districts. It was the Republican voters who voted against the Republican candidates in those swing districts that helped Joe Biden. In 2026, the party in the White House, their voters tend to stay home. So Republicans think you get Trump now and 2 years is done. So the question is, what do you do for 2 years? What can you do? Because there's the filibuster. One of the things you can do is reconciliation. And the Democrats, remember, I told you all along, precedent matters. The Democrats decided to do 2 reconciliation packages in a single year. Everyone said, no, you can only do one. And they were able to convince the parliamentarian of the Senate that they could actually do 2. And the second reconciliation was a reconciliation of the first reconciliation. It wasn't something brand new. You can be sure the Republicans will do that to bypass the filibuster. They will come up with a grand plan for what to do. I remember a couple of months ago, Senate Republicans were mocking Mike Johnson. They were saying Johnson's out of his mind. He's coming into these meetings telling us we need to get ready with an agenda of what we're going to do after Trump wins. We don't think Trump's going to win, and we think we're going to be wiped out. Well, guess what? Johnson was right. The House is still up in the air, but Trump doing these campaign events in California and New York may very well help the GOP hold the House. So what are you going to do? I have a suggestion. My suggestion is I want something called the Granholm Act. And the Granholm Act will be the repeal of all of Secretary Granholm's energy regulations on appliances and cars. If anything, you might be able to work some of this into reconciliation because of cost and tax. But prohibit the Department of Energy from regulating gas stoves and gas water heaters and washing machines and dryers and dishwashers. Prohibit them from further restrictions on vehicles. You know, they're trying to get rid of the SUV through backdoor method. They got the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration to say that the height of SUVs is dangerous to pedestrians and they need to find a way to take off height. What you have to do is a bigger slope. What you have to do is basically into the SUV. It's one of their backdoors. And big pickup trucks. They're at war with big pickup trucks as well. That's what they want to do. You need to pass a law, and once you pass a law, they can't then pass regulations that contradict the law. Do the Granholm Act. Get rid of all these regulations on the working class. They're just driving up costs for businesses, making people less productive. Get rid of the Green New Deal. Get rid of all of the surcharges and taxes on businesses and individuals related to climate initiatives. Walk it all back and save some money. And then you'll be fiscally responsible as well. There's a path forward for the Republicans if they get this trifecta. They better embrace it. And they better right now be putting some thought into what does it look like if we take everything. Because if it takes them a year to figure out an agenda after they've elected, they've only got 3 months to do it because then the 2024 election cycle starts and everybody goes home. So they better have an agenda by the time they get there in January, or else it's going to be bad for them. And a lot of voters who are Republicans are going to say, why bother? Now, why bother moving banks? Well, because you never know when your bank is going to get taken over by the wokes and they find out you're a conservative and they shut your account down. Why bother going to a new online bank like Old Glory Bank? Because they're highly innovative and they're for conservatives. They're by conservatives. They're with conservatives. They support conservative industries and businesses. They support you. They support families. They're a very family-friendly bank. You can get a custodial account for your kid. They'll be able to deposit cash and they're not going to get fees. It works. And your kids get cutting-edge technology to learn how to use with the next generation of banks like Old Glory Bank, where instead of going to a physical branch, you go to a local, like 88,000 retail locations, hand them your cash, you scan a QR code on your phone, it gets deposited into your account. It's genius how they've done it. I've done it several times. OldGloryBank.com, OldGloryBank.com. You go to oldglorybank.com, you fill out the form, takes less than 6 minutes, you get a bank account at oldglorybank.com. You get a no-fee checking account or no-fee checking savings account. That's what I've got. You get business checking and savings. You can get mortgages. You can get loans, CDs, you name it. oldglorybank.com. Member FDIC, equal housing lender, terms and conditions apply. And yep, it really is my bank, oldglorybank.com. This hour of the program brought to you by First Liberty Building and Loan. Wherever you are nationwide, First Liberty might be able to help your business, not you individually, but your business. If you are, for example, buying a building and you need $250,000 or more, you're buying a franchise, or let's say you need a heavy equipment loan. You need $75,000 quick for a heavy equipment loan. and you got great credit, First Liberty, they can move fast. They love helping businesses. They'd love to help yours. Reach out to them and see if you're a fit for them and them for you. Tell them I sent you. FirstLibertyGA.com. Get all their contact info there. FirstLibertyGA.com. Y'all, this is my important broken record announcement. I cannot remember the amount of times I have said this to you, and I stand by it. And I need you to understand that if you have access to Apple TV Plus, you need to be watching Slow Horses. You must watch Slow Horses. I sat in my hot tub, thank you, Georgia Spa Company, till 11 something last night. I watched the season finale. I've been waiting. This show is so good. Every single episode ends with a cliffhanger, and you're just like, oh my gosh, I can't wait till next week. Why can't I binge watch the show? Remember, so if you're a Game of Thrones fan, and I realize we can ignore the last season, but every episode in Game of Thrones ended with a cliffhanger, and you're like, I need next Sunday in my life today to watch what happens. And the season finales would end in these big cliffhangers. Now, Slow Horses doesn't do that. At the very season finale, it actually previews the next season, so you know it's coming back, and it doesn't end you on a big cliffhanger. But, y'all, it is the best show on television, and I realize it's a streaming service, and I realize it is the least subscribed to streaming service. I cannot recommend Slow Horses enough. It's got, if you watch The Darkest Hour, Gary Oldman and Kristen Scott Thomas played Clementine Churchill's wife. Gary Oldman played Churchill. They're in this together. It is about MI5 in Great Britain. It's a British show. And look, a couple of friends of mine watched the very first episode of the first season. They're like, Erickson, this show is woke. It's all about racial stuff. I'm like, you need to keep watching because it takes some plot twists. And it is a great show, y'all. It is fourth season just ended. The fifth season is going to start right after the first of the year. It looks like they've already got it filmed. It is an incredible show. There are very few shows on TV that I am effusive with praise on, and there is not a bad episode in this entire 4-season series. Every episode of every season is great. Now, caveat, it's British, which means language alert. Oh, there's some language. But if you can handle language, actually, it's gotten better as it's gone on. The language has been less and less pronounced. And I started thinking about this the other day. Am I just so used to it now? But no, I went back and watched episodes from this season just to see. And there's language, but it's not nearly as bad as it had been in the first season. Y'all, it is a great show. Slow Horses is the name of the show. It's based on this book by the same title. About MI5 in Great Britain, which is their version of the FBI. I cannot recommend it enough. You want to watch Slow Horses. It's on Apple TV+. When we come back, CBS News has been taken over by Hamasniks, and it is a very, very bad thing.